Hello, I'm the Theorizer, and why do I keep returning to this movie? This is my 6th time trying to crack Coraline, and I'm not getting tired of it, actually. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, as usual, a recap of my first 5 theories. In part 1, I figured out a super cool secret about the old well. In part 2, I scanned the movie for all of its hints and Easter eggs. In part 3, I created a timeline relating to the ghost children. In part 4, I delved into the possible history of the Beldam and created a story for her that actually fits pretty decently. I also answered a ton of burning questions that people had. And in part 5, I delved into the cat's history and answered even more burning questions. Now, as promised, I'm returning today to answer those last questions that I mentioned at the end of part 5. But you need to pause immediately and watch the other parts in order if you wish to have any chance of getting what I'm talking about. So, I'll start by answering those last few questions I had in part 5. Question 1 was, why was there cotton in the doll in the intro scene? Aren't they supposed to be filled with soul sand? Yes, and it was filled with soul sand. You see, as I've said many times, the Beldam's magic deteriorates over time. The other Wybie was composed of sawdust. As the magic weakens in the world, Wybie slowly falls back into his base material. The other father slowly decomposes into a pumpkin, and it was what he was formed from. The jumping mice fade back into rats, the sand faded back into cotton. It's magic deterioration, fading things into what they actually are. I think that the buttons being applied to objects are what holds the magic inside of it, and what keeps it under the Beldam's control. She sews buttons onto rats, fills them with sand, and then they are under her control. I like to think of it like this. She mixes the soul sand with real-world objects, turning the objects into what she wants. She then sews on the buttons, locking in the magic. As I've said constantly, the other mother cannot create, she can only alter. It's similar to how matter cannot be created or destroyed. This may be a separate universe, but the same laws apply. She can suck objects into her world through the many small portals, and she can use her mice to bring her material, but she cannot directly create things without a base. But quickly before the next question, I want to address a confusion you guys have. When I say soul sand, what I mean is not actually their souls, but rather their life force. I just call it soul sand because it sounds much cooler, and it's a nod to Minecraft. It's actually a kind of sawdust-like material. Next point. Why does the Beldam have an obsession with games? Well, she loves to mess with the kids and the cat. Why act so antsy? Well, it all stems from her loneliness. The only people she gets to see are the cat and the kids. That's all she has. The rest of the people aren't real. She wants the entertainment, and she now plays games with her rare company in an act of subconscious entertainment. And the question that I've had forever now is, who's the boy in the picture? We've established that it isn't the cat as a human boy, and we've established that it looks unlike what the blonde ghost boy looks like, so who is it? Is it just a painting that Mel and Charlie brought with them when moving in, or was it there previously? Well, seeing as how they have a box labeled living room, and that they've been unpacking into an empty room, it's likely that they brought it with them. My first thoughts when watching was that it was theirs, and that it symbolized the family's boringness. But so many commenters have gone on to say that it could have been the Beldam's child, and that she's looking for a child after she lost her other one. And while that's an extremely intriguing thought, I really don't want to go that many layers into this lore. What makes the most logical sense is that it was the Jones family's painting. I also get frequently asked, when Mel went to grab the door key, she scanned around and found the button one, immediately assuming it was the right one. How does she know which one to take? You guys have been saying that maybe she has some sort of bizarre relation to the Beldam, and that she just knows these things. You've said how the garden looks like both Coraline and the Beldam's faces, and maybe they're all genetically related, but I don't know. It's just so many layers of lore, and the depth created here is way too much. I personally believe she just grabbed the most out-of-place key for the most out-of-place door. But speaking of which, what are all the other keys doing there? What are they for? Well, there are many places around the house that require keys to open them. Very interesting. But I'd say the biggest and least answered point by far is why the Beldam likes spiders so much. I've blissfully trotted over this point time and time again, but there's clearly something strange going on here. The creators talk about her spider web and how she's luring Coraline into her trap. The ghost kids talk about how her web is unwinding. She's a seamstress like a spider, and she uses thread as her web. All of her servants are giant bugs, her wallpaper is giant insects, and she eats cocoa beetles from Zanzibar. It goes on and on. I've always said that it's because such unintelligent organisms are easy to control, but she shows more of an obsession than anything. It's extremely stumping. I've also said that it was because she took the magical life force from the bugs that rats brought through, but that's not right. Please give me your thoughts. Do you think it's one of these two things, or something completely different? Odds are, this won't be my final Coraline video, since there is just so much to cover. So much. So give me your buggy ideas. What I find really cool is whenever the beldam says or hears the word game, her buttons twinkle and she begins finger rolling.
And soon as you're through eating, I thought we'd play a game. Why don't we play a game? I know you like them. Everybody likes games. And what is it you'd be finding, Coraline?
I feel that it all loops back to her boredom, and how she is antsy to have fun with someone that isn't her. Next question, and this is a cool one. Where did the beldam's eyes go if she used them to create the world? Well, we have a few options, but I'd say the best fit place would be the moon. The moon represents the other world. It may be a big button, but it's what controls the void. It's what holds the magic, and I even think it's the portal that opens to the bottom of the well. It's her soul. The world is controlled by it. But speaking of the well, why'd she enter it in the first place? Did she think her child fell down it? No, I have something much creepier in mind. In each theory prior to this one, I hinted to how the universe wants somebody to occupy it. It is the true villain. It calls to people. It wants people to occupy it. It's like Venom from Spider-Man, if you get my reference. The void is the enemy. It calls to her and she enters it, happy to do so. It is a demander of creation. Now's the time to wrap up the last few questions. How did the beldam kidnap the parents? When I read this, I got confused. But then I caught something that had been staring me in my button eyes since the beginning. Coraline left the door open. Her mom came home with her dad, left the groceries on the table, and then noticed the door she had left open. They entered it, which was a tragic mistake. Not only did the beldam have a doll to watch them, but Mel and Charlie's curiosity and will to find their daughter led them into the biggest trap ever. Busting the snow globe was a result of having the spell broken, and this teleported them to the nearest portal outside, letting them walk inside to find Coraline without any memories of the event. So I guess that about wraps up all of the final questions I could read, but it was a lot of fun making these. But I've long since exhausted this movie. I've ripped it apart, and then ripped apart the rip I created. Then I theorized on the ripped rip, but because many people will spark new ideas, I do have the feeling that I'm not done. I just watched Kubo and the Two Strings, and noticed so many similarities to Coraline. Oh boy, the Moon King, eyeless magical woman, multiple beldams. This film, Paranorman, and the Box Trolls need some theorizing attention as well. But until Halloween, I'm the Theorizer. However, after Halloween, I might take a little break. I've been theorizing hard for months now, and I need a tiny break. Thanks.